to you by RWB Golf Carts and Hot Tubs. This is set for three-minute round of MMA in the Island Fights featherweight division. And when the action starts inside the ring, our referee, Larry Downs Jr. And now, let's meet our fighters. Introducing first, fighting out of the blue corner, standing 5 feet 10 and weighing in 147 pounds. Tonight, he comes to the ring with a record of 7 wins and 5 defeats. Representing Team Remedy and fighting out of Pensacola, Florida, please welcome Cam Bennett. His opponent, fighting out of the red corner, standing 5 feet 5, weighing in 144 and 1/2 pounds. Tonight, he comes to the ring with a record of 4 wins and 6 defeats. Representing the Kettle and fighting out of Birmingham, Alabama, please welcome Elias Anders.
All right, I was looking forward to this one all night long, all week long. There we go, we've been asking for it. Here it is, Asanada Tequila here in the commentary booth. All right, here we go, guys. Bennett, Anders. Anders is bringing the pressure right in front of us. Anders knees to the body, into the clinch. Oh, big knee right there by Anders.
Anders came in with tons of energy into this fight.
Good spin back there by Cam, controlling.
Both gentlemen are short, stocky. Oh, that was a
little low,
shot.
right? Maybe Cam can come back with the knee right back, would be massive.
I mean, he called for the groin shot.
Let's see.
Those are beautiful knees here, beautiful knees. Both gentlemen are very square. They're kind of bent over, which is perfect to land knees. And I mean, they're okay with trading right now.
Kind of stuck in the ropes right here. Finally, Cam has unders. Talking about the Olympics, we got a Greco-Roman wrestling match right now. Little knee to the body there by Cam.
I love the grappling in this. However, what Cam is doing here is he doesn't at the moment, but he had underhooks most of this time here. And although yes, underhooks are advantageous for leverage, he's carrying all this weight, so really he's tiring himself out. But both gentlemen now have a half tie clinch and are just trading knees.
Big knee right there by Cam.
This is going to do some damage in the later rounds.
Anders is throwing a little couple uppers right now. Oh, big shot there by Cam. Man, they are begging for a big knee. There's another one by Cam.
Neither one of these gentlemen want to take a step back right now. They are both
unbelievable.
Just
big uppercut there by Anders.
Bulls.
Cam with another knee to the body.
Nice, dirty boxing here.
Oh, uppercut again there by Anders, Pearl.
I'm curious to see when they do decide to break grappling, how their striking is going to look. Are they going to be tired? Because this is a lot of work right now. They're working really hard right now.
Insane. 2.5 minutes of this. But it seems like neither man wants to break away. They seem, oh, Cam probably broke away through a couple strikes. Big knee there by Anders.
Anders seems to be forcing the pressure and forcing the grappling. Nice uppercuts. He's got beautiful uppercuts, but Cam's coming with,
big body kick there by Cam.
Nice body work.
An end of round number 1.
Ferocious first round there.
Yo, what it do? Appreciate y'all tuning in. This the Chop Up Podcast. You in here with Big V. Shout out to Hoffa. Shout out to Santucan. Shout out to Third World. Shout out to Crazy Joe. They couldn't be here yet, but they'll probably be around here later. Man, I'm in here chilling, and I'm going to change the description and everything because I definitely put pro boxer, but MMA fighter, killer Cam Bennett. I announced it the right way, man.
Yeah, that's correct. Thank you.
Killer Cam, see, you got to be in hip-hop. You got to be in the rap world to know Killer Cam come from Cameron, man, and you know, it's supposed to go before the name, not Cam Killer. That sounds crazy.
Yeah, that's stupid.
But what's going on with you, man?
Oh, nothing much. Just hanging out with you.
Yeah.
Just enjoying another day.
For sure. Did you have to train any this week?
Yeah, I was at practice 6 days this week already. So, I run a tight ship of when it's getting ready for a fight, it's usually 6 days a week. Yeah. I mean, when I'm not getting ready for a fight, it's typically 4 or 5 anyways. Right. And then you got your running, your lifting, all that fun stuff. So Sunday's my rest day. Okay. Kind of relax. I might go for a jog tomorrow, potentially, like active rest. But outside of that, Sundays are my one day where I kind of pump the brakes and try and relax.
Resting and family and all of that.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, for sure. So I'm gonna tell you my introduction to you is it was in October, the last Allen fights, and I had just finished podcasting and got there, and your fight has just started, and I'm ringside sitting with Dylan. Shout out to Dylan Lindsay too. Dylan Lindsay got me tickets. You know, I came and chill with him. It was a packed out event. Actually, it was a lot of Pensacola celebrities up in there. That was a good night. I think Devin was the main event.
Yep.
Yeah. When I saw you and I was like, yo, who is that, man? Every punch that he's throwing is like with bad intentions. Like he trying to get dude trying to get dude out of there. But I was like, he got a baby face. Like, is he from here? And they like, yeah, that's Cam Bennett. Like, he from here? I was like, oh, nah, I want to interview, bro.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I think I fool a lot of people with just my appearance.
Yeah.
I look, and I think I even mentioned it after that fight on the mic. I was like, everybody gets fooled. You think that scary people have to be all jacked up, tatted up, look mean, act mean.
Yeah.
But, you know, some of the people that are the most dangerous fighters are just who they don't look like that.
Right.
They are normal looking people. They like to have fun. They like to relax, you know, family people.
Yeah.
And we just have a propensity for violence when it comes to if you're putting money in a ring in front of us, you know. That's where I do my business. I'm not trying to get in no scrap outside of that. There better be a check and a ring involved.
Yeah. I was about to say you'll be somebody's worst nightmare at a bar or something. Somebody who's just trying to poke at somebody or pick at somebody because you do not look the part at all. But you'll be somebody's worst nightmare if they try.
Yeah. Well, that used to be the thing. It used to work for me a lot. Was the first couple of fights that I had, I would do this thing of like they'd come out with a poster and then I'd figure out who my opponent was and I'd go search them online and I'd look at their social media. I'm like, I'm just curious what they're thinking because, you know, when you're fighting, you're promoting. Like, there's promotion for everything. So some people want to talk smack. You got the Conor McGregors of the world that want to just run their mouth and do whatever. And then there's guys that don't really sell a fight. They're just like, hey, I'm fighting this day, blah, 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 buy tickets. So I'm just curious on what people said. And there was multiple times where somebody would be like, oh, you're fighting a choir boy. Also heard, I heard there was one that dude was like, you're going to murder this poor white kid. And I was like, well, I'm going to remember that later. And then that fight did not turn out the way he wanted.
Yeah.
So I think that family ended up going home
A little
some
upset.
tears, yeah.
You let the
Well,
choir boy whoop your ass? This some bullshit.
Yeah, he went home and he's probably like, I can't be seen again.
Yeah.
Well, it was just, I remember reading that comment, and then later on, my teammate
Yeah.
sat next to that guy's family. His whole family came, and this was early in my amateur career, and his whole family came from like Tallahassee or something like that. And the dude comes out, and my teammate does not realize that's who I'm fighting.
Right.
And he's like, "Oh, you're fighting on the card tonight?" He goes, "Yeah, I'm fighting some scrub tonight. I'm going to knock him out probably in the first round." and his family was like, "Yeah." And then I ended up brutalizing him. Like, that was my first knockout. Like, I just annihilated him. There was, at no point in time was the fight like, oh, this is kind of a close fight. I, like, took him down at will and then just finished him. And my teammate was like, I couldn't cheer at all because his whole family's sitting there screaming, "Stop the fight!" And I'm just sitting there, and the whole time in my brain, I'm like, yeah, choir boy. Huh? That's all I'm thinking.
That had to be so awkward for your friend, bro. Over there cheering like a motherfucker inside, but like.
Yeah, he's just sitting there like.
What are the odds of you being right beside dude's family that's getting
in the
annihilated?
Civic Center?
Yeah.
In the Civic
In the
Center.
Civic Center, bro.
Out of all the seats. And I sold him the ticket, too.
Yeah.
I'm like, so I got the tickets right next to the dude's family. I'm like, how'd that work?
Man, that is wild, bro. So, man, let's talk about some beginnings. Like, what got you into MMA fighting?
So I used to wrestle. Like, I started wrestling in middle school, like in 6th grade.
Yeah.
I absolutely hated it.
Why?
Because I was not athletic. I still don't look that athletic. I was short and chunky, and I like to eat. So that part's never changed. I like to eat. But I just did not appreciate it, and I also was playing baseball at the time, and that was like my main thing. Like, and then I knew when high school came around, I was like, I'll try wrestling in high school, but the main thing was I was going to play baseball in high school.
Okay.
And I did not make the baseball team, and I was just devastated. And my dad was like, "Hey, there's this jiu-jitsu place up the street. Would you like to try that out to have you like have something during the summer where you're like doing just like to have a hobby before wrestling?" And so I was like, "Sure, why not? I mean, I got nothing better to do. I'd be sitting around."
Yeah.
And so go up there, and I try out my first jiu-jitsu class. And unbeknownst to us, like, the coach that was running it at the time was kind of a shyster. He wasn't the best person, and the business kind of blew up later. But he looked at my dad, and whether he was trying to work a business deal or actually being honest, he was like, this is going to change his life. And ever since that first class, nothing, like, my whole life has just been completely different. I fell in love with it right after that class. We signed up. Yeah. And it was over the summer, so I did morning and night classes. Like, I would train twice a day. And then when I was 15, I had this realization. I was like, cool, I like to wrestle, do jiu-jitsu. Right. But if I ever had to get into a street altercation, like, if I have to defend myself, it's not good to just go straight to the ground.
Right.
What if there's multiple attackers, blah, blah, blah. I need to know how to throw a punch, take a punch, maybe slip, block a punch, all those things. So I was like, I'll do that. Like, I'll try kickboxing. Okay. And started doing kickboxing. The first time I sparred, I was like, I had built up getting punched in the face being the worst thing possible. I mean, I had never been, at that point in time in my life, I had never been hit in the face, like, by a fist. Like, nobody actively trying to punch me or hurt me in that manner. And so I tried it, and I got punched square in the face, like, and I was like, you know what? Not that bad.
It wasn't that bad.
Yeah, it's not that. I mean, it's bad if you know how to punch people, but I was like, yeah, you know what? It just, I had built it up to be this, like, behemoth.
Terrible thing,
this terrible thing of, oh, it's going to be so much pain, and then, it wasn't. So, I just started doing that, and then, at the same time, I'm watching the UFC with my dad. Like, that's what we're doing on the weekends. Yeah. Watching John Jones. Like, he used to be like,
he was the man when he first
he
started.
He was the man, and his first fight with Alexander Gustafsson really got me into MMA.
Yeah.
And so all of that happened, and by the time my senior year rolled around, I was like, I don't want to go wrestle in college. Like, I had like an offer from a small school, and I had told coaches that I just didn't want to go do that.
Right.
I was just kind of done with it, and but I was like, well, what if I just took a fight one time? I was like, if I take a fight and I like it, I'll just take another fight.
Right.
But if I take a fight, hate it, and not good at it, then it's something
over.
you can just tell your kids one day, be like, yeah, I had an MMA fight one time. Yeah,
I tried it.
I did it, because that's something a vast majority of people will never do.
Right.
So I was like, I'll try it out, and I had my first fight. My debut was with Team Remedy, and we fought at the Civic Center.
Yeah.
Island fights. I think I was the second fight on the card or something like that.
Right.
And I beat the dude in like a minute and 30, and I was like, dude, this is amazing. I was like, this is my favorite thing ever.
You train for two times in a day, all day, every day, and you go in there and it's a minute and 30.
Yeah, it went. I mean, it was all this build up because when I graduated high school, I went to Trey Alador and started training Team Remedy, and we had a small place at the time. And I was training with some of these guys who were fighting locally, and I was like I was like, I can hang with these guys, and some of them I can beat them. I was like, and they already have fights under their belt. I was like, if I can beat them, I can do this. Like, I'm 18. Like, I've got plenty of time. So, yeah, it's a lot of build up though, a lot of work for like it could be over in a minute and 30 seconds. Like my quickest fight, I knocked somebody out in 45 seconds. Like, so, and I've also been on the receiving end where I had a fight where, you know, you work so hard to get clipped, and you get clipped in 20 seconds. And it's like,
how was that, like, the defeat, being defeated in front of a crowd? Like, what is that feeling like to you?
I think the best loss to talk about, probably, in my opinion, is the first time you lose as a fighter. Because leading up into my fifth fight, I was 4-0, 4 finishes. Riding like an offer from a manager they wanted me to turn pro and sign with them or whatever, and you're 19 years old, you're 4-0, everybody's like thinking you're the next big thing and hyping you up. You're landing podcasts like and talking to them. I think around that time I'm getting close to like landing my first sponsors. And I'd already been working with like Max Fit and Pace, and like they've been with me for a while. But you're landing sponsors, you're starting to like be on the come up, and everybody's hyping you up, and they're always like, there's fans always talking to you when you win. Like showing up to island fights, you like become a little celebrity when fans like notice you and you put a couple wins together. And that's cool. But that first loss, I took a fight against Tim Hester on like 5 days notice for me. I was supposed to fight originally a completely different dude in a different organization at like 155, and that fight fell through, and I was not expecting to fight on that island fights. And Tim's guy like broke his hand, I think, in training camp, and so they called me up and Trey, and they were like, hey, does Cam want to fill in for this guy? And this guy at that time was calling out SD Dumas. And SD's your number 1 185er at the time. And this guy was wanting to fight SD, and was like, had called him out at island fights. He was the number 1 170 in like Georgia, and then maybe the Southeast at the time. And so you're like, I was sitting there and I was like, that's a tough fight, but heck, why not? I mean, I was having a hard time finding fights because I was 4-0 and submitting people, and like that was like freaking people out. And I take that fight and I lose that fight. It was 29-28 on the scorecards. I mean, I pieced him up the first round, and then he just wrestled the crap out of me the next 2 rounds. Like, and he just controlled the fight from there. That second and third round, he just controlled. I mean, he's so much bigger than me.
Yeah.
Because he fought at 170. So I mean, he was massive the night of the fight. I was like, dude. I was looking at him, I was like, you weren't that big yesterday. But he was just.
He went to the buffet after the weigh-in.
Yeah, I was like, man, like, golly. And he wrestled in college, I think. And he was just, the size played a role, wrestling played a role. And I lost. And it was my first main event as well. We were the main event of that Island Fights. And I remember going home, and I wasn't that beat up. I was sitting in a bath, and I was sitting there, and usually after those fights, when you win, you're looking at your phone, you got like 100 messages. It's like text messages, you check Messenger, you got like 40 there, you got 40 Instagram DMs. Everybody's like, congrats, you did great. They're putting it on the story, all these things. Like, everybody's wanting a piece of you. Check my phone after that fight, and I think I got like a text from John Gunther, who's one of my main teammates. We've been teammates since high school.
Right.
I think Trey had texted me. I think Devin Adams had texted me, who's one of the promoters for Island Fights. And then somebody else texted me and said I sucked. And I looked like trash that night. And I was like,
that was probably one of your real friends.
yeah, nah, they weren't a friend.
That was one of your real friends. Like, hey, man, we'll get up. You sucked tonight.
Yeah, I wish they were friends. They just told me I sucked and never talked to me again. I was like, dude, what? So you get 4 text messages. 3 of them are good. Like, hey, lick your wounds, you'll be good.
Yeah.
And then this other one's like, you suck. And then they never talk to you again. Yeah. And you kind of bounce. You're like sitting there and you're digesting it. Mm-hmm. And I'm just like, wins and losses don't define me.
Right.
Fighting itself does not define me. Something I do. One day, I'm not going to fight anymore. Mm-hmm. I'm going to have a life outside of fighting. I have a life outside of fighting right now.
Right.
One day I'm going to be a father. I'm going to be a husband. I'm going to be whatever I'm going to be as a actual job. Mm-hmm. And that's how I'm going to leave my legacy is how was I doing those things, Right. Not so much who gives a crap if you're a good fighter, you suck as a human being. Like,
yeah, that's true.
Who cares?
Right.
So, losing is a part of life. Yeah, it's all right. It's all right to take a loss.
Right.
And really, those losses build something a whole lot better if you take it that way.
Right.
But if you just put all this, like your identity in wins and losses, those guys crumble. Like at the end of the day, those guys crumble and quit. And they're not built for it because mentally their identity, they're just so sold on, well, this win defines me. Mm-hmm. I'm a winner. This defines me. This one win, this title defines me. And then everything else suffers. And that's not the type of guy I want to be.
Right.
So I just took that loss, and it sucked. You see what's real, what's not. And you got to take everything with a grain of salt when it comes to other fans and everything like that.
Yeah.
And then just keep on moving. You go back to the drawing board, you get better on the things that you failed at, and that's the same thing with everything else, whether you're talking about business, your job, just any relationships.
Yeah.
You're like, hey, this is a spot where I messed up. I need to grow. Man,
that's called accountability too, man. A lot of people, you realize when you get older that a lot of people really don't take accountability for stuff.
Yes.
That's crazy. Like, I thought that it would be different when I got older, that older adults we get out of that phase as a kid. You want to point the finger and blame everybody. But sometimes you got to look at yourself, look in the mirror and be like, all right, I know where I fucked up at. You know what I mean? And I can turn that around. And that's what you're supposed to take from losses. Like, who expects to go in and be like the Floyd Mayweather of sports? Like, just to not have a blemish on your record or anything. Obviously you don't want to take a loss, but when you do, how you bounce back, to me, is what
Exactly.
Shows me what kind of person that you are.
Exactly. I mean, the goal is to be undefeated, to be a world champion, to do those things. But I also know, like, life is not a fairy tale.
Yeah.
Life is hard. And also, I mean, if I'm out here pouting 24/7 about a loss, like, I lost in a sport where now I'm getting paid for it. There's people out here losing their whole livelihoods. They're getting diagnosed with, like, diseases and illnesses that are terminal.
Yeah.
There's a lot bigger things to life than just the sport that I'm involved in, you know? And then on top of that, that accountability, like what you said, I can't, it's hard for me to comprehend sometimes. Obviously, like the Bible talks about it, but people, you got to look yourself in the mirror. You got to look at yourself. Like, you can put on this game for everybody else and say, oh, I'm this, I'm that, I'm this, I'm that. And people can buy in or not buy in.
Right.
But one day, like, you're the one that goes home, you look yourself in the mirror, and you know if you're lying to yourself or not.
Yeah.
And if you're going to sit there and believe the lie that you're telling everybody else.
That's crazy.
Which is crazy to me.
That's borderline psycho.
But that's what people do. That's how they pass off accountability, you know? Because if you don't take accountability, how are you going to grow through whatever you're going through?
Yeah.
You're just shucking off responsibility. You're not being introspective on things.
At all. Shout out to Coach Bo, tapped in. I just had him on the show last night. What it do, bro? Yeah. But yeah, so with that being said, let's talk about your upcoming fight. Is it okay to name the opponent and all of that now? And
I have no clue, but I know it's April 11th, and it's I won't throw like a name out there.
Yeah.
But I already signed the contract. It's gonna be April 11th.
Okay.
It's gonna be for Empire Promotions.
And it's where again?
This one, it's gonna be in Mandeville, Louisiana, so like 40 minutes north of New Orleans.
Oh, okay.
So, that's all the details I'll give on that. I mean, I never know. They never tell me. I just get the contract and I just sign it, and then I'm like, man, I'm so amped up about it. You know?
And this is a pro fight, right?
Yes, it would be my second pro fight. So hopefully moving to 2-0, and making another statement in this fight.
Yeah.
So
when you go pro, is that still Island Fights, or like what is it under now? Or
so Island Fights is just a promotion.
Okay.
So really, when you're pro, these fights, like as an amateur, you just agree to take the fight.
Okay.
As a pro, you get a contract that gets sent to you. You got to sign it and be like, hey, you're going to make this weight at this date. This is your pay. If you win, you get paid, whatever. And that's like signing a fight for the promotion.
Yeah.
And at this level, too, a lot of these regional promotions that are under, like, the UFC. Like, the UFC is your NBA.
Right.
Your MLB, NFL. That's your top of MMA.
MMA, yeah.
That is your top.
Okay.
That's your top dog. And then you have, I would say, right under those would be, like, places like PFL, Bellator.
That's the one that was in the back of my head. Like, dang, I know it's another one.
Yeah, one championship, Ryzen. They all kind of compete with the UFC in certain regions. I mean, there's some champions that have fought from the UFC. You know, some guys from the PFL, Bellator guys are leaving and coming to the UFC, like Patricky Pitbull.
Yeah.
Just got signed. But, like, there's that. And then you have these big, like, LFA, I think CFFC, Cage Warriors are kind of some feeder programs that kind of go into the UFC.
Yeah.
And then you have regional promotions. But Island Fights has been a big promotion in the area, like this Pensacola area, that's been awesome because it's boosted people to the UFC. I mean, you've had Mike Davis, Jacob Kilburn, SD's been in there. So you have this plethora, like Chris Barnett, Alex Nicholson, you've had guys just been able to go to the UFC from Island Fights. So it's been a great promotion. It's branching out a little more now because they're fighting at the Hard Rock in Biloxi. But each kind of fight is like a one-fight deal almost in a sense.
Right.
But, like, if you're good with that promotion, you can kind of bet on them coming and asking you to fight for them again type thing. So I've always had a good relationship with Island Fights, and it's been just an amazing thing and an opportunity to fight at home for Island Fights at the Civic Center, someplace that I've grown up watching.
Yeah.
So
that's all right. That's dope. That's dope, man. Have you been paying attention to SD Dumas? He was on No Jumper not too long ago. He called in the Adam 22 because it's a rapper that wants to fight. He called out a rapper that claimed he knocked everybody out. So SD called in and they was going back and forth.
Yeah, I saw a little bit of that on Facebook.
Yeah.
Because there's some delusional people out here.
I'm like, man, I like that. I like that guy, but I'm like, SD gonna kill you, man.
Well,
what do you do?
I'm like, well, you've got people like that. I think there's a bodybuilder that has a podcast. I can't remember what his podcast is, but he'll have legit UFC guys on there, former UFC champions. He's like, I'm 6'4" and 200-something pounds. You think I could beat you in a street fight? And I'm like, dude, you're asking guys who get paid
To whoop
thousands
ass.
to millions of dollars to fight another trained human being.
Right.
Like, and you're talking to them in this way, and it's kind of like that stuff disrespectful.
It's disrespectful for real.
And you're like, come on.
Yeah.
I think I'd beat you.
Yeah.
And I'm like, there's some delusional people lifting weights. Cool, yeah, you're strong, but that doesn't mean you're gonna win a fight with a trained professional like that. So it's
you coming in? Oh,
it's just crazy. Something like that, it's like cool. I mean, you run into guys all the time that would be like, "Oh yeah, I fought on the streets. I'm undefeated in the streets."
In the street, but those are people you fighting people that have no skills, but street fighting skills. I mean, don't get me wrong. There may be like sometimes where someone who just get their fights on the streets will land a punch and knock somebody out. I mean, that could happen in anywhere.
Yeah,
but
there's always a puncher's chance.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a real thing. Everybody's got power in their hands. Like, you hit somebody on the button.
Yeah.
Chins don't change.
Look, this is my saying. This is my saying from fighting when I was coming up, just in the streets. Your chin don't lift weights.
No, it doesn't. You can't stop it. So, but yeah, there was one time it's the joke of you'd hear the gym bro say, "Oh, I see red," and bodies just start hitting the floor. And I thought that was like us just joking all the time. And then I heard somebody say it one time, dead serious. They were just staring at me. They're like, "Yeah, I just see red, bro." And I was like,
he was pissed.
That's crazy. I was like, that's wild.
Yeah.
Well, and then, just seeing red doesn't work really.
Right.
You got to be calm and smooth, calm and collected. I mean,
yeah, because when you see red, you start making a lot of mistakes because now you're fighting off of emotion. You fighting angry.
Yes.
You're going to get knocked the fuck out by a punch that you don't even see.
Yeah, now it's a puncher's chance.
Yeah.
You're just kind of winging things. You're throwing your chin up in the air.
Yeah.
And it's best to be cool, calm, and collected. I mean, it's technical. Like we like to say at Rimini, Coach Ben says it all the time, technical violence.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to embrace the horror of the brawl. Those punches are coming. Either you can shy away and eat them, or you can embrace the horror, come forward, and put some hands on somebody.
Yeah.
Like, shying away from it's not going to change those punches coming. They're going to keep punching you. So kind of biting on that mouthpiece and moving forward and handling business is what needs to happen, But, like, doing it in a technical, smart way, making sure our hands are where they need to be, posture's correct, finding rhythms and patterns.
Mm-hmm.
Because, I'm not trying to get paid by I don't get paid by the hour there.
Yeah.
You know, they're not paying me due to time. They're paying me to get the job done.
Yeah. That's what's so weird about you not knowing. Like you said, you just signed the contracts and you don't know who you fight. So in MMA, do y'all actually ever get time to watch film on your opponent?
Yeah, so I'm in a spot right now in your career, like when you're early on in your career, sometimes fights are going to be short notice, and you may not know, you may not be like in the UFC, like you have 8 to 12 weeks.
Right.
Where it's like, okay, we know it's this guy, and we're going to train this way. Then there's times like I know the guy, like I know the opponent for this fight in April, which is nice because I've got some time, and you can watch film and game plan.
Right.
But there's going to be times like that last amateur fight, that guy was on like 2.5 weeks notice, I think. Like I was getting ready for a fight, but just never had an opponent. Things like people weren't taking it. It just wasn't happening. And then we found that guy. And then same with my pro debut. Got to about like almost 3 weeks out, maybe a little less, and then we finally got the name.
Yeah.
So I could watch some film on him, but it's not like you had 8 weeks to be like, he's gonna do X, Y, and Z,
right? And
I'm gonna counter X, Y, and Z. So sometimes it's more so just trusting the training that you have, and I think that's a good thing in a sense of, as a pro, yes, you need to watch film. Like, do not push off watching your film and game planning.
Right.
But people can get so locked in and be like, he does this thing good, and they're so worried about shutting that one thing down that they don't actually play their game.
Right.
You're so, like, a team can be so focused on they're going to run this play, and we want to shut that down. Like, honestly, in the Super Bowl, the Chiefs were so worried about Saquon Barkley running the ball that, they shut him down.
Yeah.
But they could not stop the pass. Like, Jalen Hurts is running all over him.
Doing what he wanted to do. Just throwing it up.
I mean, cool. You stopped Saquon Barkley.
Right.
But you got annihilated by everybody else. So, I mean, you can't be so focused on that person's game plan that you're just kind of out of your own element.
You don't have your own game plan.
Yeah,
you don't have an
thing.
offense. Yeah.
Do your thing.
Right.
What are you good at? How do you get to that spot, What are they doing to where you can kind of manipulate the game to get them to play your style? If I want to wrestle, how do I draw them in close to where I can shoot the takedown?
Yeah.
If I want to strike, how do I get them so scared of a takedown potentially, like I feint and then I throw my hands or throw kicks or whatever? How do I keep them in my domain?
Yeah.
Where do I want to keep them so I can finish the fight?
Yeah. You love to throw them knees, man.
Yeah, I like to throw those knees, and like in that amateur fight, you kind of got to do what you got to do. Like the fight that was being shown,
right?
That dude just wanted to hold me in the clinch. I mean, he didn't even really want to do any damage in the clinch, and that was annoying to me because leading up to that fight, all my wins were finishes.
Yeah.
I like to finish people.
He was like, "You're not gonna finish me like that."
Yeah, I know. I'm gonna hold you. But I was landing those. I'm trying to find the spot to where I can land damage at all times.
Right.
I do not like.
That's noticeable.
Yeah. I mean, I know I've got this face of a baby, and I come off like I am goofy. If you ask the patients that I work with on my day job, I am the goofiest.
Yeah.
I am very I like to go with the flow. I like to chill, but when it comes to fight time, I want people to know that when they leave that ring, they will not be the same. You're not going to be the same fighter. You're just not. I don't want it to be where you walk out of there and be like, yeah, I want to take that fight again.
Yeah.
I want you to leave that fight and go, I'm never signing the dotted line again to fight Cam Bennett. That's just what it is.
Yeah.
I want that to be the statement. Like, I like how somebody like Justin Gaethje in the UFC is of, we're trying to make car crashes. We're trying to make just destruction and be exciting and get the job done. Like, I'm trying to win, but also at the same time, I like mentally breaking people in there and being like, do you really want to fight?
Right.
Do you like? That's the thing. Everybody says they want to be a fighter. They like the lights. They like the applause, all that stuff. But
Yeah.
like, let's go to those deep waters and find out what you made of. Because I like seeing what I'm made of. So, you know, if I'm knocking you out or submitting you, like, that's the goal. I'm coming to close the show. It's not one of these, oh, we're just gonna pitter pat here and we're gonna trade jabs and a leg kick.
Yeah.
You know, I want to test that metal and find out, because deep down, like, part of it's just I want to see what I'm made of. You know,
Right.
That's why I'm fighting. Like, I want to see how good I am. I want to see, do I have what it takes to be the best?
Yeah.
It's all about kind of testing yourself, testing the
Testing
work.
the water.
You know, you put in all this work. Is it really what you say it is?
Right. So I see you going really far in MMA. And like you brought up John Bones Jones earlier. That was one of the guys that you watched, and that is my favorite UFC fighter of all times, to be honest. So I got to watch the rise, the fall, and the rise again. A lot of things started to come into play where he was into drugs, or at one time it was like cocaine and stuff, and then it was performance enhancement drugs they was trying to accuse him of after one of his wins, and he kept testing positive, and it was fucking making me mad. I used to get so mad when I hear about it.
picogram.
Yeah, man, all of that
testing.
shit. So I used to be so mad because I love, bro, like I love that, but just by following his career, like, how do you plan to avoid those type of pressures when you get up there to the top?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think that's something that people don't think about.
Mm-hmm.
Is as your success rises, everybody wants a piece.
Right.
They want a piece of you, and then also they're gonna offer whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And it can put you in some very dangerous positions.
Yeah.
That's one thing I love. My parents and my dad. I remember my mom just hated, like, the idea of me fighting. But what mother wants their son getting punched in the head?
Right.
I mean, like, that's a great, like, thing to think about when you're in my shoes. It's like, well, my mom's giving me crap maybe at the beginning because she doesn't want me getting hit.
Right.
That's a motherly thing to do.
Yeah.
My dad always said, though, that the fear is not getting knocked out viciously, or, yeah, those things suck.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, getting finished sucks. Getting knocked out, submitted, whatever. Pain sucks. But those go away. But what good is it if I find all the success in the world and ruin my life? You know, what good is it if you gain the whole world but lose your soul in the process?
Talk it, Cam.
So, you know, making sure I'm guided by Scripture, you know, make sure you're reading your Bible. I would suggest daily reading on your Bible programs.
Right.
Go to church. Make sure you keep those people that were there from day one there.
Mm-hmm.
You know, my parents, my sisters, my brother-in-law, they all keep me in line pretty well. My girlfriend, she keeps me in line. And they also give you viewpoints where it's like, hey, maybe you should think about this.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe think about this. Or, you know, all of those people will not hesitate to call me out.
Yeah.
But I should never put myself in an area where I'm so prideful that I will not listen to them. You know, there's a difference between, you got to have some swag, you got to have some confidence when it comes to fighting.
Right.
You got to be able to promote. But I think there's a big difference between swag, confidence, and just arrogance and pride.
Okay.
You got to have humility, be able to listen to your coaches, listen to your family, listen to your friends. Because at no point in time am I going to blow up so big in this world, especially, say everything came true. I become world champion of the UFC. I'm making millions of dollars, and I come back here and I basically get the key of the city, Pensacola. And anything I want is at my fingertips. Like, I should at no point be like, oh, I'm too good for you. I'm not going to listen.
You know who I am?
Yeah, yeah.
I'm Cam.
Don't you know?
I'm Killer Cam.
Yeah, I'm Killer Cam, not Cam Killer. It's Killer Cam. Like, I should never get to that stage.
Right.
You know, I should always be introspective, reflecting, hey, am I treating people right? Am I glorifying God in these actions? And that's the ultimate level is, are these actions that I'm taking God glorifying? Am I glorifying God with how I carry myself when it comes to if I like to have a drink? Am I drinking appropriately in moderation? Am I treating fans correctly? Am I taking time where, you know, if a fan wants a picture or something like that, do I just blow them off, or do I actually sit there and say, hey, how are you doing? You know, because that's another thing is like treating people as people. Like, there's times where people walk up to me and they're like, you're Cam Bennett.
Right.
And I'm like, no, I'm just Cam Bennett.
Right.
You know, there's a difference.
Yeah.
Like, in their eyes, I'm Killer Cam. And it's like, yeah, that's cool, but I am Cam Bennett, 25-year-old who works at Andrews Institute and, you know, still takes a UWF class every once in a while. And
Right.
I like to read books and hang out and go to the beach and spend time with my girlfriend and my family and all those simple
You're human,
things.
man. Yeah.
I'm a human too, you know.
Right.
And that's going to be the thing too. I'm going to be one day 65 years old. And you always know those guys that are like, hey, you remember when I was your age?
Back in my day.
Yeah, back in my day, I used to be a bad dude. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Cool, Gramps.
How's that working out for you right now?
Yeah, you're sitting in a nursing home. Dinner's getting ready. Don't worry. They're going to wheel you down the hall for it. So, like, you're never too big, like, for those things. So, always keeping those things. Now, if I've at any point lost those things, I'm pushing off Christ, and I'm just like, nah, and pushing off family. I'd be like, I'm not listening to you.
Right.
I think I'm better than whatever you're saying. And I'm not, maybe they don't even have the right viewpoint on something. Maybe we will disagree. You're not always going to agree with your family.
Right.
But if I can't sit there and just listen, you know, and be like, hey, is there some weight or merit to what they're saying? I think I've kind of stumbled into a dangerous spot.
Yeah, that's
you know, because now you're like, I don't need to listen to you.
Right.
Like, I know better.
Whatever.
Yeah, whatever. Yeah. But, you know, people come with good viewpoints to you, and you got to sit there and be like, is there weight and merit to what they're saying?
Yeah.
What's the source? What are they saying? Does it align with my morals that I'm trying to uphold? And if it's checking those boxes, then I need to pay attention.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a true statement, man. I think that brings relationships closer. Even with me and my wife, it'll be times where she feels strongly this way, and she'll like come off and it sounds like she's yelling and she's aggressive, but she's just passionate about what she's saying. So I have to sit there and I'm listening and I'm breaking it down. And she used to think that I was being nonchalant because I wouldn't respond right away. But sometimes it takes a minute to process, because you're like, okay, she's not yelling. She's passionate about it. She feels this way. I don't necessarily agree, but I don't want to just jump out there like, nah, you're wrong.
Yeah.
Let me sit here, because she could be right. I could be tripping. I don't know. But so I had to tell her, like, look, I can't respond right away all the time, because then we getting into a shouting match type of deal. And then no one's listening to no one when you start doing that.
For sure.
So I told her I'd just come back around when we both chilling, and I'll say, like, I understand what you're saying. I don't agree. And if I make this decision, then I'll be like, hey, you told me I shouldn't have did that. You were right.
Yeah.
I don't have a problem doing that. So it brought our relationship like much closer, because it started off with like, nah, I ain't, I ain't hearing what you saying. Like, I don't agree with that. And it was about being right, when really in a relationship, in a marriage especially, it shouldn't be about, you shouldn't be arguing to be right. Yeah. You should be getting into a discussion to come to a compromise. So I definitely feel what you're saying about that. Yep, that's big. So it's a fight night tonight in boxing. You familiar with Gervonta Tank Davis?
Yeah. I don't know the dude he's fighting per se, but I've watched Tank.
Yeah.
I've watched Tank, Ryan Garcia. I mean, Tank's got bombs as hands. Naturally, I think he's also a more popular fighter.
Yeah, he's definitely more popular.
So I think I would lean Tank because he is fast. I mean, his speed is ridiculous.
Yeah, it's underestimated too.
Yeah, how fast he is. He's clean with how he sets up the knockout blow.
Right.
In his last fight, when he rocks the guy, he rocked him with just this sneaky uppercut.
Yeah.
He kind of slides through the guard, and then he sees it. You can see when you rock a guy.
Mm-hmm.
And he sees it and closes it with the left hook, and it was nasty.
Yeah. Man, it's funny that you said that about that fight because he actually saw that opening earlier in an earlier round and didn't pull the trigger.
Yeah.
And he kind of like chuckled, like, I'm going to get you later type of deal.
Yeah, it's going to happen again.
Yeah, it's like, man, how smart do you have to be as a fighter to set that up? Like how you said, he just really set that up. He could have pulled the trigger then. I guess he wanted some more rounds to go, and it opened again, and he pulled it.
Yeah, sometimes it's that's, I think, one of the defining details that, like, separates fighters is if you can slow down. Like, there's a lot of adrenaline going into a fight.
Yeah.
It's hard to sit there and kind of think and take in that information. Mm-hmm. But being able to pick apart people's patterns and habits, be like, yeah, I watched this on film, and he's doing it right now. He's doing it right now, and he's going to do it 3 minutes from now.
Right.
And I know he's going to do it in 3 minutes, and I'm going to hit him with this shot because it falls right into the play. Especially if I know somebody's doing that, kind of like he did. It could be a thing of trying to give a false sense of security of, oh, I'll let you do that because I'm not doing X, Y, and Z. Like, I'm kind of, like, say I'm seeing somebody react to a jab. Mm-hmm. I'm just going to keep kind of pawing that jab out there, but if they're slipping to say my left, I may throw that jab, and keep them thinking, oh yeah, I'm good to slip off to the left, off to the left. Then out of nowhere, I'm throwing that jab, but there's a head kick coming.
Yeah,
I've hit it. The jab doesn't really matter. Yeah, I'm just throwing it out there. The head kick's coming. All right, pump the jab, throw the check hook. But it's like it's chess.
Right.
Checkmate. Like, you're trying to find that. So, like, when he does something like Gervonta kind of smiles and it's like, he knows that in the back of his head. It's like, this is going to happen again. This same pattern is going to happen again. Yeah. And I'm going to throw this combination and it's going to be lights out.
Yeah.
That takes just the utmost skill and, like, calmness. Like, being able to be in that zone, to be like, hey, I can read a human being like that, and then I'm going to throw this shot, and it's going to happen, which is impressive to me.
That's crazy. So the guy that he's fighting is Lamont Roach. He's from D.C. Tank is from Baltimore, so it's the belt. It's like a beltway battle. They're 45 minutes away, probably the same distance as Pensacola and Mobile type of deal. And they have some amateur history where they were in the same camps or similar camps, and they've been around each other for years type of deal. So I think it's cool that Tank is actually giving him a actual shot at the title. But at the same time, what you did in an amateur career doesn't always translate over into the pros.
Yeah.
And it's like, I feel like you could have gave some other fighters that's
like
looking to fight
Shakur
you.
Stevenson.
Yeah. It's people that's looking to fight you that you gave this guy Lamont Roach the opportunity before you gave them. And but it's people that saying Lamont Roach kind of like peppered him up a little bit back in the day. So
I see how, for Tank, if Tank knows he got peppered up, but he's on a level now that he's like, I'm gonna handle business. It's kind of like I'm getting my get back,
Right.
You know, but I'm getting paid for it.
I'm getting my get back. I'm getting paid for it, and I'm probably giving you your biggest payday that you ever had.
Yeah,
in your
so
life
it's a
at the same time.
win-win-win for him.
Yeah, 3 wins.
And then also, if you're not really wanting to fight certain people, it's a win there because you're dancing. You get one more fight in before you have to deal with it.
Yeah,
and that's one thing about boxing that I don't understand. Like the UFC, it's really hard. Like MMA, it's really hard to escape fighting the number one guy.
You can't duck him.
Like you can't duck him. You can kind of hold on to the title in certain ways. Like people do that and be like, "Oh, I'm not going to give that guy his shot yet.
Right.
He needs to earn it." Blah blah blah. But like the way it's set up, typically you're going to end up having that number one contender, and they have to fight the champ, and there's no
mandatory.
getting away from it.
Okay.
But in boxing, there's so many different like
Belt divisions, organizations.
Yeah,
or
you got
whatever.
so many organizations and everything like that. Somebody's a champ here, but they're not a champ here,
Right.
so things have to line up. But that's why I like somebody like Terrence Crawford.
That's my
Like,
boy.
I love watching
Love
Terrence
Bud.
Crawford, and the fact that he's supposed to be fighting Canelo. Like I
Yeah.
don't know if that's like official.
I don't know if it's official either, but he got to.
Please,
That's gonna be a good one.
I would love to watch.
Yeah,
that.
that's gonna be a good one.
Because I mean, he fought. His last fight was what? Errol Spence.
Well, that wasn't his last fight.
Or-
His last fight, he went up in weight. So I guess he's trying to get comfortable with the weight because he fought somebody at one of those, I forgot what the Rider season things in Saudi Arabia. He fought some big dude. And
Terrence did.
yeah, and it really could have been, to me, it could have went either way.
Yeah, that's the size.
But they gave it to Bud.
I think the size for Canelo is going to be a thing. I mean, that's a big factor. But
Yeah.
also, like, watching Terrence Crawford I just really like watching him.
Yeah.
Like, I like the way he fights. He comes forward. He's looking for the finish. And, like, I think how he fought Errol Spence, like, some of the
It was
highlights.
so
of-
genius.
Man, the way he was fighting. And
I
then
won
he's
some money
talking
that night.
He's talking smack to somebody ringside. I was
Yeah.
like, oh, my gosh. I was like, I love that
Yeah.
type of stuff when fighters have performances
He was
like
talking
that.
to one of the Charlo twins.
Yeah, he was like saying he was next. I was like,
You were.
yeah, man, if I'm sitting there ringside and that's happening, but he's like actively killing somebody, I'd be like,
Actively killing somebody in your stable.
yeah, I'd be like, you know what? I think I gotta go to the restroom. I think I'm getting a phone call or something. I gotta leave.
Man.
That's crazy. I just retired.
Yeah. You know what? I'm done.
You know what? I'm picking up golf.
Yeah. Man, what are 3 things that Cam Bennett cannot live without?
I'll just, because practice is one. I think if I rule out and say, scripture and Christ, and obviously is given. My girlfriend, my family, that's like, those are the people I hang out with the most when
Right.
I'm not at practice. Like that's where if I'm not at practice and work, I'm with them.
Okay.
Like, they're in my heart all the time. I go to work, I'm talking about them. I'm like, hey, see what me and my girlfriend did this weekend.
Yeah.
You know, like the patients are like, what did Cam and Hannah do?
Yeah.
So that's one thing.
The
you know?
patients be doing that.
Yeah. They ask me how my weekend. They don't go, what was Cam's weekend? They're like, what was Cam and Miss Hannah's weekend?
Yeah.
And so I tell them about our weekend. So that's one. 2, if I'm not practice is like the thing I do all the time. I just love training. Like I cannot take like a week off. Like
Yeah.
I don't know how people do a whole week of not doing anything, of not hitting the bag, not shadow boxing. Like I'll be in a kitchen shadow boxing because I'll just be moving around. That's how you know a fight's coming up for me, is because I'll be like standing there completely normal, and then all of a sudden you just start seeing head. I'm imagining things.
She's shaking her head
Yeah.
like, so sick of this.
Yeah, I start throwing some jabs out there. Anybody that's close, I might start bombing on you. You never know.
Yeah.
So I just practice. I mean, even after fights, like I've had people that be like, "Oh, take a week off," because like sometimes you're pretty banged up, you know?
Heal.
Even on the winning side, you've got, like, the last fight, my knee hurt a bunch because I kneed the dude in the face a bunch of times.
Right.
Like, that, I had a hematoma in my knee because of just kneeing him in the face.
Yeah.
And my hands were swollen. But, like, I got 2 days in, and I was like, I'm going to practice.
Yeah.
I just got to go.
Yeah.
I can't not be there and be doing something. So, martial arts is going to be a part of my life until I can't physically do it anymore, I think.
Okay.
That's just going to be it. And then third
one.
I really like to cook.
What?
Yeah, I like cooking. Yeah, believe it or not, I've taught myself how to make sushi. I grill.
Wow.
So I know how to make breakfast. Don't know how to bake that well. I leave that to my middle sister, and then also my girlfriend knows how to bake some breads and do all that stuff.
Yeah.
But I like to grill. I like to cook a lot too. So I think that's my third thing that I'm like, I really like doing that to de-stress. Like, it's something about making a meal for somebody, like, and I don't even have to eat it. Like, when you're getting ready for a fight, you're not partaking in the meal that you really ate or made. You're more so like, okay, I made my meal. I get some fish and some veggies over here. You get whatever.
Right.
But seeing the joy on those people's faces, like my family's face, like Saturdays typically, I like to make dinner, and they'll have dinner. Like, I'll make it for them, and just knowing that I served my family in that way, or served somebody that may, maybe bring something in for coworkers or something like that. And they enjoy the meal, and you see the smile on their face, and be like, man, that was some bomb buffalo chicken dip or something like that.
Yeah.
Like, it just kind of warms my heart a little bit. I'd be like, yeah, I did make that.
Yeah. He did that.
So
that's cool, man. So the last question that I want to ask you is when it's fight time, when it's almost time for you to walk out to that ring, what music are you listening to? Who you listening to?
I've changed it up every single time. I don't think I have yet to reuse a song.
Oh.
I've changed it every time. I've come to realize, like, it's usually typically like 80s rock has always been a classic kind of staple.
Yeah.
But it's got to be songs for walkout songs have to be for you, but also promotional wise, it's always great to pick a song that fans like. You want to get the crowd involved. So I've walked out to Nothing But a Good Time by Poison was great. I walked out to Black Betty by Ram Jam was great. People like that one a lot.
Yeah.
Like, people were freaking out about that one. But I've even walked out to, like, Rage Against the Machine, Foo Fighters. But I've realized now, I think for me internally, I like walking out to something that's like heavy guitar, like it's fast paced, like fast paced stuff, because it kind of puts me in the zone of I gotta hurt this person.
Yeah.
Like, I can't walk out to something mellow or like a slow kind of song. It's got to be kind of intense and more fast paced songs.
Yeah.
To get me ready to go.
Yeah.
Because anytime I'm too kind of lax, I start off slow and it's just not good. I need to be ready to rock. So, like, Rage Against the Machine's Sleep Now in the Fire was, like, one that got really, really fast. Like, it hits fast.
Right.
And I got busy real quick. So, something like that. Typically, rock's always been my thing. But I also have a whole playlist that's potential walkout songs.
Yeah.
And it's not really I've only put a couple of songs on there. My dad curates the whole thing.
Right.
So he's always like putting out ideas of like, hey, this would be a good song, you know. And then also now that I'm fighting in like different areas, it's also cool to play songs that may be tied to that area. You know, Mandeville, Louisiana's near New Orleans. So you could come out to the Animals, the House of the Rising Sun. You could walk out to Lil Wayne. You could do like things like that that are tied to the area somehow. Because it kind of gets the fans, they're like, oh, you know, this is our stuff. You know? But you also want to not kind of steal their culture in a sense. You want to like tip your hat to them, but not be like, yeah, I'm from here, but you're not really from there.
Right. Hey, man, I enjoy having you here, bro. A whole hour went past, and I ain't even. That's crazy.
Time flies when you're having fun.
We had fun in here, man. Before we sign off, I want you to let everybody know how they can find you on social media.
Yeah, you can find me. I have an athlete page, Cam Bennett MMA, that you can follow or like. You can also follow me on Instagram at KillaCam_0, I believe, is the tag. Those are my 2 spots. You can follow me and watch the career. I'm excited for what the future holds. I got some big plans for this year. Excited for working with the sponsors that I have in Pensacola. Pensacola is the place to be in the city that I like to represent. And I'm just trying to make statements each and every fight. As I said, I'm not getting paid by the minute or the second. I'm trying to get paid by each and every finish until I get to where I'm going, and that's UFC. And I'm not trying to get there and be there for 2 fights and then get cut. I'm trying to be there, be ranked, be a contender, and one day be a world champion. And so I'm very excited to be moving that way. And April 11th is just another step in that direction.
You heard it here first, man. It's the Chop Up Podcast with Big V. I had Killer Cam Bennett in here. Make sure y'all tap into his fight April 11th. It's in Mandeville, Louisiana.
Oh, yeah.
Man, y'all, I can't wait till tickets come out for that. That ain't that far.
Yeah, hey, I'll have tickets.
Okay. All right. That's around my birthday time, so I might have to make that happen.
Happy birthday.
For sure.
KON2.
Yeah. Hey, we out of here. Make sure y'all tap in. Look out for that fight. And follow Cam Bennett on all social media platforms. And we out.